All right, welcome into the Dakota Drive. September is here. Hard to believe. Episode 2 of the Dakota Drive. We're trying to get things situated. Took 2 takes to get the open going, but that's all right. We are going to get started here pretty quickly as football season kicked off this past week. And that's going to be where we started, kind of where we finished things off last week with college football. Man, what a thrilling first week of college football. I mean, obviously on a national stage, you talk about the big games, the upsets, but here on a local level too. I mean, so many teams at the Division II, the NAIA level getting started, and that's going to be our first guest as UMary head coach Shann Schillinger, as NSIC teams got kicked off last week. A lot of them kicking off on Thursday. We talked to Dakota Dickinson State head coach Pete Stanton last week. Those guys were getting kicked off on Thursday, and it was the same for many of the NSIC teams. For UMary, that was a home win that they started off the season with. And with that, we're going to bring in head coach Shann Schillinger here really quick as we get this set up. All right, there we go. Shann Schillinger, we're going to start right here. We'll work on the boxes, people. Coach, how's it going, man?
You okay?
Yeah, absolutely. So week 1 of football season is in the books, and you guys get a win. Obviously, the way that you want to start it out, what were your feelings overall of what things look like and just kind of how game 1 went for you guys in the 28-22 win over Midland?
Yeah, first off, Luke, thanks for having me. Appreciate all you do for local sports around here. You guys do a phenomenal job, and we're excited to have a game under our belt. It's you get to that point where you're ready to go play, and obviously we're excited to also be 1-0. There's a lot of teams around the country that would be, either 1-0 or you're 0-1, and so we're happy to be on the good side of it right now. And that was a good football team that we played, and I know some people probably don't realize what the success that Midland's had since Coach Jamrog's taken over there. They've had 10 winning seasons in a row, and Coach has done it a long time at a high level. And last year they went to wire with 2 teams in the semifinals of the NAIA football. So we knew it was going to be a handful, and we have a lot of things to clean up. It was sloppy at times, undisciplined at times, but it's good to have a game to correct off of.
And obviously, you have some of that expectation going into week 1, right? That there's going to be things to clean up and that kind of thing. I mean, you guys were ahead, 21-3, I think, at one point, something like that, and kind of let them get back in it. So, what was the message there towards the tail end of the game? As obviously you tried to lock things down and get your guys focused, and obviously close that one out at home.
Yeah, and it was actually, we were up 28-9 at one time in the fourth too, and had the ball, and credit to them, they didn't quit. We had a costly turnover on the 2-yard line on a tip pass that they caught, and basically gave them a touchdown that changed the game like that. And so things that we got to correct. And when you have, I tell our guys this all the time, and we should know we haven't. It is so hard to win in college football week in and week out. And when you have opportunities to put games away, you have to do it. And when you let teams hang around, good things don't happen. And we let them hang around. We made some mistakes. They made some plays. And before you know, we were in a dogfight. And so, there's a ton of learning, ton of corrections to be made, but also a lot of good things to take away from it as well.
Well, you come into a new season, and obviously you made some changes in the offseason, going with a new offensive coordinator, Taylor Colsty, and you have a new quarterback that you're utilizing as well, but a lot of familiar faces on the offensive side of the ball too. And I want to start there. Carson Jablonski, 2 years in a row that he's caught the first touchdown of the season. So is that, are you and him making side deals, or what's going on there?
Yeah, that's his dad is from Eastern Montana, like myself, and so I look out for fellow Eastern Montana guys. No, I didn't know that. Thanks for sharing that. But Carson's a great football player, and he had a really great game, and people around here know about him. But we love him. He's a great kid, works hard, does what he's told, and kind of had some unfortunate breaks in his time. He's had injury his freshman year. Last year he missed some time, so we got to keep him healthy and fresh. because when he's healthy and fresh, he can be a really good player for us, and we got to find ways to get him the ball like we did.
And Carson Jablonski, a name that a lot of people in Western North Dakota know, a Mandan product. He finishes game one with the first touchdown of the season, 8 receptions, 129 yards, but he had to have somebody get him the ball, and that was the new quarterback, Ryan Blair. 26 for 37, 303 yards, 4 touchdowns. And then you have to talk about the 2 interceptions and the 3 sacks as well. And obviously all of that doesn't fall on Ryan's shoulders, but just from a 10,000 foot point of view, what were your impressions of Ryan's first time, behind center for you guys, and just the way that he handled it, especially as you guys got in a situation late in that game where, you had your backs against the wall a little bit?
Yeah, he made a couple of big plays late for us too that kept our drive going at the end of the game. We had a 5-6 minute drive where we ran out the clock at the end of the game, and he made some big plays. Ryan, he started out a little like a lot of quarterbacks early in the year, a little jarred. He was anxious and maybe came out a little aggressive. And as he calmed down and let the game come to him, he played really nice. And obviously, we had a couple turnovers and a sack or two that we got to get rid of. Some of those too, Luke. We had some miscommunication. We run the wrong route, and that can always throw off things for a quarterback. And so, it wasn't all on him. I always say quarterbacks sometimes get too much credit when things go good and too much blame when things go bad, and so some of those bad plays aren't all on him. And then as the game went along and settled, he played really nice and did some good things for us. And we like Ryan. We thought we got a good one in him, and he's got the right temperament and demeanor for a quarterback, and we're excited about him this year.
We talked about things being new on the offensive side, having Taylor Kolsky as the new offensive coordinator. I mean, I'm sure going through game one, it's not like you're throwing your entire playbook onto the field, but how did you guys feel as a staff as things went, offensively in your mind? Did you feel like it went kind of how you thought it would, or what were your reflections after watching the game tape back after, Saturday, late into the weekends?
Yeah, we thought there's some good. There is some good. There's some things that we haven't been able to do around here the last couple of years, and we were able to do some things in that game on Thursday night. We still didn't run the ball to the level that we need to. I say it all the time. You have to be able to run the ball where we live. There's games where, last year we played 2 games in 40+ mile an hour winds, 160 mile an hour wind, and the year before we played 2 games with 2 feet of snow on the ground. And so you have to be able to run the football. That's your way to control the game. And we didn't do that. Now we did run for 100 and some yards, just and some timely stuff, but it wasn't as clean as we'd like. And so we got to be better in the run game. The good positive thing is we were able to work a 2-minute situation at the end of the half, and we went down and scored a touchdown. And we spent a lot of time on those things, like every staff around the country does. But to go down and put a touchdown in before half was really good. And then at the end of the game, we had a 4-minute run the clock out and had to, make sure we stay in bounds and do all the little things that you talk about. And so from a non-conference game, first game of the year, to be able to have those things show up in game one is really promising, because those are they're gonna happen a lot throughout the year, and we were able to get it on film and correct off of. So yeah, like I said, we liked some things that we did in that game. We were really good on third down, but our inability to kind of control the game by running the football has been an issue, and we need to continue to work on it.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about obviously opening your season on a Thursday night, which is not something incredibly normal for you guys, but on the back end, does it help having a little bit extra time for preparation going into week 2, that you can clean up some of those things and have more time to talk about those things? Or did you guys use it more as a rest period after getting that first game under your belt?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And the thing is, we play Wayne State this weekend, and they played on a Thursday night as well. And so they'll have, equal amount of rest. So we probably didn't gain much as far as getting rest against our next opponent. But I think it's good for our kids to be able to, we were Saturday and Sunday, they were off and relax and kind of recharge their batteries, because the thing is fall camp is a grind as well. And so to give them a couple of days off after the game is well deserved, and we get to kind of sit back and look at the game and correct on Friday. And so, yeah, we feel like we should be somewhat fresh coming off of it, but obviously we'll find out, I guess, how fresh here in a couple days.
And you mentioned that those guys open on Thursday as well. I mean, around the NSIC, lots of teams doing that. Minot State was in the same position. For Wayne State, they lose 28-21 to Nebraska Kearney. What did you take away from looking at that first game against Kearney, and just what Wayne State did, what they weren't able to execute? What did you take away from being able to watch their game back?
Yeah, Wayne. This is a program that's been really good the last couple of years. Coach Masters has done a nice job there. They've last few years, I don't know the exact win numbers, so 7-8 wins. They've been in the thick of it at the end of it, and so yeah, they didn't go their way the other night, which I'm sure there's a lot of reasons on why they didn't. But they had a couple unfortunate things come up in that game too. A couple kind of turnover here or there that obviously changed the game. That was kind of maybe a little bit fluky, and so that game could have went either way. And this is a good football team. They got a lot of 3 starting linemen back on the offensive line. Team that got after us last year, and so a quarterback that's highly touted, highly recruited kid that a lot of teams in the conference wanted. And so, like I said, that game was close. Wayne had a chance had the ball late in the game to go down and tie it, and so it really was a game that probably could have went either way, and credit to Kearney for getting it done.
For you guys, what's the focus going into week 2? Obviously, you talked about having some of those mistakes, situational things, but what's your biggest focus as you get through practice these next couple of days, and then have to go on the road for the first time this season with this group?
Yeah, we got a lot of things we got to correct. I did think we tackled well, which is usually after week 1, you don't tackle great. And so you spend a bunch of time on Tuesday and Wednesday getting out there and tackling, and we still will. But yeah, we have a ton of things we need to correct. This is going to be a huge challenge for us. We're going on the road, a night game at Wayne. Like I said, a team that's won a lot of games. We're going to have to play really, really clean to be in this thing, to have a chance. And hopefully, if we do those things, we give ourselves a chance in the fourth quarter. But if not, this is a game that they can get after you, and will get after you. So we got to play clean, much cleaner, and everything that we do, penalties, taking care of the football, and obviously alignments and communication defensively and tackling. So there's a lot of things we need to clean up, and we'll get going on that obviously today and throughout the week. That hopefully translate to us playing well on Saturday.
I just wanted to ask you big picture. I mean, you've been in this position for a couple of years now, so you've had the experience of going through the NSIC slate, having a chance to get some of your recruiting done and that kind of thing. As you approach this season, were there any different outlooks for you, different things that you changed in terms of approach for yourself comparative to the last 2 seasons? Or, how do you feel like things have been different for you as you guys have gone into this year? I shouldn't say you guys, as you personally have gone into this year.
Yeah, I think as a leader, you always got to look back and step back and analyze, what ways I can get better. And, we always have answers for things that people to do, but I think good leaders also take feedback on what they can do better. And so always trying to evolve and come up with ways that we can improve our program. And obviously this fall camp's been a little different because we've had more staff change. We've got a whole new staff offensively. We've got 2 new coaches on defense as well that are here helping. And so it's been fun to hear their feedback on putting their fingerprints on the program as well. And that's what you want to do as a coach. You want to let those guys have say in things. And so we're always we don't look too far ahead. What can we do in the short term now that give us a chance to go play well this weekend? Every decision that we make, we need to try to ask, does this help us win come Saturday? And if it does, we need to do it. And so obviously always trying to improve our roster, doing things to get better, but we're kind of in the day-to-day of this in this profession, and what can we do today to give us a chance to go play well on Saturday?
And you guys on the road at Wayne State this Saturday, 1-0 against 0-1, so it'll be big in terms of what the rest of the season looks like. I'm sure you're excited about that and excited just to get back on the field again. I appreciate you joining us. The last thing we're going to do, just real quick, last minute or two, couple of rapid fire questions. First thing that comes to your mind. So don't spend a whole lot of time thinking about it. I've got 4 of them that I wrote down. Actually, we'll say 5. Best part about starting the season on a Thursday.
Extra time after the game. Get a little
Worst
extra
part
time
about
to
starting the
relax.
season on a Thursday.
Your summer's cut shorter, so you got to report earlier. So
Okay, more prep time, but your summer's cut short. You got a long road trip to Wayne State this weekend. What's your favorite thing to do? What do you spend the most time doing on a road trip?
actually, it's I got 3 little girls back home that keep me really busy. Me and my wife really busy, and so part of I like to just have some relaxation and sleep. So sleep's one of them for me.
Okay, you're a Montana guy, ranked decently high again this year. Can they make a run at a national title this year?
Absolutely.
No
Absolutely.
doubt. Okay.
There you go.
You also have a history with the Atlanta Falcons. I'm from Georgia. So is this the year to draft Kyle Pitts in fantasy football?
Yes, I think it is. I do think it is. I think Kyle Pitts is going to have a big year, and I know there's been a lot of talk about that, but I think this is the year. So.
All right, good to know. I'm one day late on that because I had my fantasy draft last night, so I should have texted you and asked you that before today.
So did you get him?
No, I didn't. He
Okay.
got taken 2 picks before I was gonna take him. And we were FaceTiming during the draft, and I was like, gosh, man, I had him queued up. I was ready. And as a guy who watches a lot of Falcons games, I also hope this is the year that he can, explode. But all right, Shann Schillinger,
and my
UMary
oldest
head
daughter.
coach. I appreciate it. Thanks so much, Coach. Best of luck this weekend as the Marauders go on the road to take on Wayne State. Thanks, Shann.
Thanks, Luke. Appreciate you having me, man.
Absolutely. Have a good one. All right, Shann Schillinger, head coach of the UMary
Recording
football team. Those guys starting off the season 1-0 with a win at home against Midland. Like you said, lots of good things that came into that one. Some things that didn't go their way that they would have liked to see go a little bit differently. But all in all, a win's a win. I'm sure that's what Shann would reiterate. Carl Henry, another guy local to Bismarck, he had 20 carries, 71 yards. He finished the season last year leading the Marauders in rushing. I didn't even ask him about Luke Bodine. I should have. 7 receptions, 79 yards, and he ends the day with 3 touchdowns. That's a miss on my part. Big game for Luke, and obviously Ryan Blair is comfortable with Luke, so it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out throughout the rest of the season, how that connection plays out. That's going to be a big one on the road for them in week 2, as the Marauders obviously look to turn things around and try to get going off the right foot. We'll take a look or talk about a little bit around the rest of college football here in a second. We're going to hop into a quick break here for about 30 seconds to a minute, and we'll be right back after this. All right, we are back here on the Dakota Drive. September. Hard to believe. September 1st. But man, does it not feel good to have fall sports back, to have football back, volleyball on the horizon here in North Dakota. Volleyball teams getting started this past weekend in tournaments across the state, which is cool to see. Soccer is it feels like soccer's halfway through their season already. Golf, girls golf. So just so many different fun things happening. We just talked to UMary head coach Shann Schillinger about their win in week 1. I wanted to just talk a little bit about other teams in our area. Minot State, also in the NSIC. They go on the road and suffer a big loss. Obviously not the way that Ian Shields wants to start off season 3. I think last week I said it was season 2 on here, season 3 for him. Very different circumstances from last year when the Beavers started off super hot. So we'll see how they bounce back this week. Jamestown playing in their first season in the NSIC, and kind of an interesting situation with a bye right off the bat. So a little bit longer to spend in fall camp. You heard Shann Schillinger talking about the fact that your summer gets cut shorter. Jamestown Jimmies were in an opposite situation going into their first year in the NSIC at the NCAA level. So we'll see how that goes. The Jimmies picked near the bottom of the NSIC, but I'm excited to see what they do, what Brian Maestro and his crew does, not just this season, but going forward into the next couple of seasons, because I think they have a lot of potential there. And it's going to be fun to watch their athletic department as a whole take on the NSIC and what that looks like, especially with the new dynamic of having different North Dakota teams in the mix. Now adding Jamestown in with Minot State, UMary, maybe creating some new rivalries and that kind of thing. So I think that's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Thursday night, I was on the road at Dickinson State as they got a win over Valley City State, 30-15. And what a night for Dickinson State. They kick off the 100th year in program history, and it was a pretty good start. Honestly, their quarterback, we talked about him last week with head coach Pete Stanton. Marcus Sanders playing his first game. He was a walk-on at the University of Oregon, originally out of high school. Goes to a JUCO, decides to come to Dickinson State after splitting reps. And in his first game, he was 14 for 24, 215 yards, 2 passing touchdowns, and he scored the first touchdown of the game on the ground. It was just kind of a little 1-yard tush-push kind of situation, but he had 19 rushing yards and a touchdown. Samaj Clark, he was an all-conference guy last year, and he was the top target for Dickinson State in game 1. 7 receptions, over 100 yards. Dickinson State looked pretty good, honestly. I think early on in that game, it was a little slow going, and it was kind of, hey, what happens after that first series? That's what I'm always interested in. The first series is how much of this is scripted, what do these things look like, what happens in the second and third series when you're having to respond a little bit more. And honestly, I thought they looked pretty good. The defense looked pretty good. The other guy was Jack Hartman. He had 2 interceptions. One of them was a pick 6. And then he had another interception that was honestly, it looked better than the pick 6, just the way he high-pointed the ball and that kind of thing. Dickinson State, obviously, first year in the Frontier Conference. That's the first of 2 times they'll play Valley City State. So Vikings obviously going to be trying to punch back once they see them again here in a few weeks. But exactly what you would expect from Pete Stanton's squad. And now it's going to be how can they build on that first week. We look at NDSU and UND, North Dakota State with a win on the road over the Citadel, a shutout. Cole Payton, man. He looked good. He looked good in week 1. Obviously, there was some rain, some weather things going on in that game, but I thought NDSU responded well. They got through that first quarter, which was a little, I think Bison fans might have been thinking, oh, what's this going to be? But the Bison got through that first quarter and things picked up, and I thought they looked really good all around. I thought their offense looked really good, and obviously it's gonna take some time for them to get lined up against somebody that we can see a real true test and see what it looks like for NDSU when they get in crunch time with their backs against the wall. But I think these first couple of weeks we're gonna figure out a lot about them and just what things look like. Next week they're on the road at Tennessee State. That's gonna be interesting. Nissan Stadium matchup. Tennessee State coming off a dramatic win. They beat North Carolina A&T. A&T had a field goal at the end of the game, and Tennessee State blocked it. So they had a very thrilling, emotional win. How does Tennessee State settle back in after that kind of thing? Obviously, you know that Tim Polasek and company is going to have his squad ready from an emotional standpoint, especially when you talk about a 38-0 road win, where, you didn't have to sweat it out quite as much. But the Bison off to a good start. UND football, man, what a game Saturday night in Manhattan, Kansas. They go on the road and they push Kansas State to the brink. I mean, they were leading Kansas State at the half, and it surely looks like Eric Schmidt's squad is going to compete with some folks this year. They had a heck of a game from a quarterback standpoint. Jerry Kaminsky looked really good. I thought that, I think Kansas State had some things going on in terms of injuries and that kind of thing that, you wonder, okay, if it wasn't for that, what would it look like? Obviously, they were coming off the trip to Ireland. What does that look like? If they played that game last week in Iowa State as opposed to overseas. But in the end, Kansas State marches back down the field late, down 3. They come up with a touchdown. UND gets the ball back, but just can't come up with anything. I think it was like 42 seconds left on the clock. But I think it showed a lot of potential of what UND has to compete with this year. And I think that coming in, a lot of people were saying, we don't know what to expect from UND because it's going to look so different. The defense is going to look different. What's it going to look like under Eric Schmidt, a guy who everyone's familiar with, but he hasn't been around for a while, and he's learned so many new things. What's it going to look like with him leading the team? So I think we found out a lot about that team. Post-game comments from players and coaches alike made it seem like the message was, we're not here just to play this game against Kansas State and collect a paycheck. What was it, $475,000, $575,000, something like that. We're here to compete in this game, and I think they proved that. So home opener this weekend, Portland State, 6 p.m. game, so that'll be fun in Grand Forks, and we'll see what Eric Schmidt's squad does in that game. So we talked a little bit about how fall sports are kicking off, not just football, volleyball getting tipped off this week, really in full swing. This past weekend, lots of tournaments. They had the big BPS crossover here in Bismarck where all the larger schools were playing. Got to see, the Century, the defending state champs, Bismarck, another team that's going to be highly regarded this year, Legacy. Lots of athletes on that team as volleyball season really gets going. Typically, we would have our first volleyball polls of the year come out tomorrow. I think they've decided to push them back to next week from the NDA PSSA voters. So that gives us a week to kind of look and see what things look like in terms of what these teams have done in the tournaments this past weekend and then what they do in the first week of the regular season going into this week. And obviously, the big story is going to be there's now 3 classes of volleyball, which is something completely brand new in North Dakota. We've seen it translate on the basketball court, and obviously a lot of people have been, I shouldn't say a lot of people, I should say from things that I've heard, I think the overall feeling has been that in basketball, the transition to 3 classes has been successful, or there are things that people are going to want to tweak. Obviously, that's always going to be something that people talk about and people want to adjust and see new things or see changes. Everyone's not going to be happy. You're not going to make everyone happy. You're not going to make everyone happy, especially in year 1. But that just is what it is. How does this look 2 years down the road when there's a possibility to make changes again, 3 years down the road, 5 years down the road? I think that's going to be what's interesting to see. It's going to be interesting to see the competitive level across the 3 classes. Double A, I don't think this affects those teams as much, obviously. A lot of that's going to look the same. I think the middle class and the bottom class is where you're going to see the drastic differences and, what teams are dropping down to that middle class that maybe didn't compete against the Centuries and Bismarcks of the world and West Fargo Cheyennes of the world. Do they have a chance to compete in that middle section? You think about a team like Wofford City, that this opens a lot of opportunity for them to come in and be competitive in that middle class. And then in, the lowest class, what does that look like? Especially for those teams that are fringe teams in terms of enrollment, and, they get bumped up and they're playing against, Dickens and Trinity and teams like that. how do things adapt after year 1, year 2 with those teams that are on the fringe? And then obviously you look at the lowest class, what's it going to look like for them as well when you talk about teams that have the same situation right there on the fringe? Hey, what does that look like for those teams that are at the top that you expect to compete year in and year out? And I think whenever you see the polls come out next week, obviously complete assumption, but I would assume that Linton HMB is going to be a team that's going to be pretty high up in these polls. I think it's a safe bet to guess that the Lions will be pretty high up. They ended up losing in the Region 3 championship last year to Medina, Pingree, Buchanan, and that was the Thunder's first time going to the state tournament. So it was a lot of excitement for those small communities. And for Linton, it was kind of like, okay, where do we go now after a tough loss? I think it was 3-1 in that region championship matchup. And this year they bring back some really good athletes. And I think that Linton HMB will be in the mix there once again. I think they'll be in the conversation to compete for a state championship. I think they'll be ranked pretty high up in that first week. We're scheduled to have Katie Walls, the Linton HMB volleyball coach, come on here in just a few minutes. And when you look at Linton from a whole, I think they're in a pretty good place right now from an athletic standpoint. I mean, their football team also receiving some love in the polls. They're off to a great start. Curtis Walls has some athletes down there right now, and I think this is what a lot of people expected from Linton. They had those couple of years in 11-man football that it was kind of, hey, we know that we're going to have to go through this stretch of playing an 11-man football because they did that emergency co-op with Strasburg, Zeeland, and so it bumped them up for a couple of years, and it was kind of, hey, we know that we're going to be in this position. We're going to have to compete at the 11-man level after they had just won a 9-man championship prior to that. Wait until we get back to 9-man and let us regroup, and I think we're going to have some athletes. And obviously last year they were a playoff team, and this year they've gotten off to a fantastic start. They played in Mandan in that Region 4 Rumble to start the season and got a shutout win over Hettinger Scranton 52-0. And then this past Friday night, they go on the road to Standing Rock and win 64-6. This week they'll host Beach, so they get their first home game of the season, and they've got 2 more road games. So the back end of that Linton schedule is going to be loaded with home games. The front ends, they're spending a lot of time making some trips down the road. Honestly, not too bad in terms of travel and that kind of thing. But I think Linton's going to be the team, a team to watch, especially in that region where it's really competitive. The other team, and we're talking about Linton football here. I know we bounced around from volleyball to football for a second, but Linton football, I think, is going to be really good. I think they're going to be in a situation where they're going to compete for that region championship, and they're going to compete to, make a run towards the Dakota Bowl. We'll see if they have the depth to get there. I know Curtis Walls has talked about having a little bit more depth this year than they have in past years, which is obviously always a good thing, especially when you talk about that 9-man level and in Class B. But they play Beach this week at home down in Linton, and then next week it's on the road at Grant County Flasher, and that'll probably be the game to watch in 9-man football next weekend. Again, not this coming Friday, the following Friday, September 12th. Grant County Flasher off to a heck of a start. Believe it or not, there's another Freeze brother to play quarterback. Cone Freeze coming in and playing quarterback for the Grant County Flasher Storm, and he's gotten off to a fantastic start. I mean, they had a huge win over Standing Rock in week 1. They get a road win over Beach this past weekend on Friday night. And so they've gotten off to a really good start. 79 points in game 1, 47 and a shutout in game 2. And then I think this week we'll really kind of learn some more about Grant County Flasher too as they head down to Napoleon. They play against Napoleon, and I think if I remember correctly, this is actually going to be an afternoon game. It's going to be like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and something I'm seeing a lot here in the first couple weeks. It's obviously not unheard of. Everyone knows that there's a shortage of officials around the state. Everyone knows that it's hard to keep officials, and I think this game was on Friday, got moved to Saturday, or was going to get moved to Saturday. Then there were just too many conflicts in terms of scheduling, so they moved it back to Friday and said they were going to do it on Friday afternoon. So that's going to be an interesting perspective. I guess it's no different than Dakota Bowl, when you got to play a game at 10 a.m. or 2 p.m. or whatever. But that'll be an interesting thing. But they'll go on the road and they'll take on Napoleon Gackle Streeter, a team that's got a brand new head coach. They are 2-0 on the season, and they went on the road and, played a good Kidder County team that I think Kidder County surprised some people in week 1, and got a win in week 1 in Mandan. And then, week 2, they had to host Napoleon Gackle Streeter there. Napoleon won 26-22. That was a really good game that we had Friday night on Under the Lights. So that's going to be a good matchup for both of those teams. It'll be a good litmus test to see where's Napoleon at, where is Grant County Flasher at, and it's not going to be easy for Grant County Flasher to have that matchup at Napoleon and then turn around and play at home against Linton, probably their 2 toughest tests of the season right there back to back. So that'll be interesting to watch. Looking back at Linton's schedule, they actually they got to play Grant County Flasher and Napoleon back to back too. So I think we're going to find out a lot about this region. By the time September 20th rolls around and, 3 more of these games are in the books, we're going to know a lot more about these teams. So, should be a lot of fun in 9-man football. I wanted to talk a little bit about what's going on, what we can look forward to this coming week, just across the state, across the west part of the state, kind of in general, with different things going on. And I just kind of did these in chronological order when I was jotting them down. Tuesday night, WDA soccer matchup between Century and Legacy. Legacy, the defending state champs. These 2 teams separated by just a couple of points in the standings, and obviously you've got the rivalry aspect, 2 Bismarck teams going head-to-head. Legacy's gotten off to a really good start. Can Century give them a run for their money? Century's played Dickinson and Williston back-to-back here recently, so Century's had a chance to kind of ramp things up. Century went on the road and was playing really good in Minot, one of those first couple of games of the season, and ended up losing that game, and they've bounced back in a pretty good way. So Tuesday night, that's what I've got circled on my calendar. Tuesday night, there's also going to be a lot of good high school volleyball getting started here around the Bismarck area and around the state. We'll have plenty of volleyball Tuesday night at 10 o'clock, and I think it's a good warm-up to get started in this first week. I think later in the week, early next week, we've got some pretty good volleyball matchups that we'll talk about a little bit more on here maybe next week. And then football. Football was a lot of fun this past Friday night. I mean, we were I don't want to say complaining, but, all of our teams from the Bismarck area went on the road and played in Fargo this past Friday night. And it was kind of like, we don't see that very often. And Mandan loses to Fargo North. Century loses to Shanley in a 1-score game. It was 6-3 at the half, and Shanley goes on to win 20-13. So this week it's going to be, how does Century respond to that? They were ranked number 3 before this past Friday night. New polls haven't come out. They'll come out later this week. And this week, Century will be back at home. They'll host previously number 2 Davies. I would expect that Davies will likely be the number 1 team in the state. Davies hosted Minot this past week and handled it pretty easily. Davies, I didn't see any of the game, but from what I've heard, they looked pretty good against Minot. So I fully expect that the Davies will probably be, they're guaranteed to at least be top 2 in the state, but I would think that Davies is probably going to be number 1 in the state. How does Century bounce back after a road loss in a close game? At the AA level, St. Mary's is in the same position, ranked 5th in the state going into week 1. They fall on the road to Grand Forks Central. Now they get a chance to host Grand Forks Red River, who was previously ranked number 3 in the standings. Last year, Red River in St. Mary's season, they defeated them in the regular season too. So can St. Mary's bounce back as they come back home? This one's going to be really interesting. The college volleyball season has been started for, I don't know, a week, 2 weeks now. But it's really going to get going here for the new Frontier Conference teams. Bismarck State obviously making the jump to a 4-year program. And what I've got circled on my calendar is this week. I don't know why I didn't write down the day. I think it's Wednesday. Bismarck State is at Dickinson State. And so I'm just curious to see what does that look like? Is that the beginning of a new rivalry? Dickinson State's gotten off to a really good start in volleyball. They've played some really good teams. So I think that's going to be a lot of fun just to see what the atmosphere is like in Dickinson on Wednesday. See how those two teams match up against each other from a talent level and a skill level. And then Bismarck State hosts number 2 Bellevue on Friday night. And that'll be another good test. I mean, obviously, it's kind of like a 1-2 punch for Bismarck State. And then I believe Bellevue plays at Dickinson State on Saturday night. So that'll be, 2 really tough tests for those 2 teams. I have to apologize, just texting our next guest here that we're going to have on in just a second. But college volleyball is going to be really fun. It's going to look different this year. We've been used to Bismarck State playing on Wednesdays and Sundays kind of thing. This year they're going to be playing a lot more on Fridays and Saturdays. So that's going to be interesting, different. But I think it'll be a lot of fun. What does Kyle Keither and his group do in this new Frontier Conference with this new landscape? How do things look for Bismarck State College volleyball? And on the same token, how do things look for Dickinson State volleyball? Can they keep this momentum going after getting off to such a hot start? That's going to be something to follow because I think they've surprised some people already early this season. What does that momentum look like here in 2 or 3 weeks? All right, so let's get to talking about our next guest. Obviously, we were ways out from high school basketball season, but couldn't be more excited to talk about our next guest, Mataya Messer from St. Mary's High School here in Bismarck. She is another one in this really loaded girls basketball class in the WDA. We consistently talk about how talented girls basketball is in the state of North Dakota, and obviously it's something that is just continuing to grow, and it seems like every year there's 2 more girls, 3 more girls, 4 more girls that we're talking about playing at a high level at the next level. And, I can't imagine what it's going to look like when we're talking about WDA basketball, and not just WDA, when we're talking about North Dakota girls basketball in the next 5 years. Obviously, we talk a lot here about, Lauren Ware going to a Power 5 school. We talk about Logan Nisley going to a Power 5 school. And then you look at the landscape of Jocelyn Schiller from the east side of the state going to UND and making a splash there, then transferring to North Dakota State. And you look at what's to come in the next couple of years, and it's only going to get more fun. When you talk about Lily Bell from Minot, and she is pretty much guaranteed to play at the Power 4 level. She's got her top 5 out. I believe she just took an official visit to Michigan. I believe that was this past weekend, if I'm not mistaken. It was sometime recently. She took an official visit to Michigan, so I think now she's taken visits to 4 out of those top 5 schools. So that's going to be an exciting recruitment to watch to see where does she end up playing her college ball at. And then obviously her teammate Maggie Fricky is really good, committed to the University of North Dakota. Now that Jocelyn Schiller's gone, what does that look like as there's someone to fill that guard spot? But we're going to talk about St. Mary's Mataya Messer, who goes to St. Mary's here in Bismarck. She's hopping on the Zoom, so we're going to get her her on here in just a second. St. Mary's made a run at some people last year and proved that they were a really good team in the WDA. All right, Mataya, hang on just a second here. We're going to get you set up. There we go. Mataya Messer. Okay. How's it going? We're just talking about girls basketball in North Dakota. So before we get into you in particular and your commitment, I just want to ask you about night in and night out, girls basketball in North Dakota, and just the growth that you've seen since you've been, an 8th grader playing basketball. How crazy has it been to watch the continued upward trajectory of what this sport has become?
Yeah, no, it's been a wild ride. I mean, the progression between school to school has been amazing. You see some upper competition coming into the next few years. When I was a sophomore, there were freshmen coming in that were, I mean, just incredible. You see the progression from middle school all the way up to high school, and it's been an insane ride. And all these competitions have been so much higher and more competitive. And I mean, it's fun playing against the girls that you know too. Some of the girls I compete with against AAU and with. And yeah, it's been a roller coaster and it's been a very fun ride indeed.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about what you've had going on recently. Obviously, there's been tons of excitement. I mean, you've gotten offers from, I don't know, by my count, probably half the NSIC, more than half the NSIC, something like that. But you make your college commitment here in the last week to Southwest Minnesota. What was that decision? What went into that decision, and why now? Why was now the right time to do it?
Yeah, I mean, there were so many factors that went into where I'm going right now, Southwest, and I just have to say that it was a very hard decision. All of the teams in the conference were amazing, and I want to say it was a very hard decision. All the coaches were very genuine and very enthusiastic about me, but I would have to say Southwest. When I got there, it was a very nice school. First thoughts. And just when I was walking around it, I was like, okay, I can see myself here for the next 4 years. I can see a home, I can see a new family. And with the coaches, it just made it a lot easier for me to really be ready for that next step. They made it very comfortable for me and very welcoming. And I mean, Coach Webb was incredible. He was talking to me about my everything that I could do for the team and my progression that I could have for the next 4 years. And yeah, I would say the coaches were a main part of my decision, and also the town. I mean, it's a small town, but the community is everything to me. I love walking through the streets and everyone knowing everyone and saying hi to the first person you see in Walmart or whatever. But yeah, I would say those were two main factors for me.
Yeah. What did the timeline look like for you in terms of when you visited and just how much time you sat on it and thought about it before you
Yeah.
ended up making your decision?
Yeah, I mean, the timeline was a little shorter than I wanted it to be. It was a big decision for me. That's why Coach Webb did. I mean, I asked him multiple times if he could give me some more time, and he's like, "Yes, whatever you need." And yeah, the time was it was fast. I have to say that, but yeah, I knew it was the right place. And I mean, once you know, you really want to just say, "Oh, that's where I'm going." And it was a big like weight lifted off of my shoulders too. I mean, the recruiting progress was an exciting progress, but it did have some stressful sides to it. So just making that decision when you know it's the right decision was just yeah, weight lifted off my shoulders, and I'm just so excited for the next couple of years.
Yeah. Um, do you know any other people that go to Southwest? Or
Yeah, I
did you
did
know
meet
before you
with
got into the recruiting process, I guess?
I actually no, I actually didn't
Okay.
know anyone that went to Southwest for girls side. I did know there was a guy from Century who went to
Right.
Southwest. Um and that was about it, but he played boys basketball.
Right.
So that was about it. I didn't know anyone at Southwest, so that kind of what made me a little hesitant about everything, but like I said, the coaches were very welcoming and made me feel very comfortable at the school.
Isaiah Schaefer from Century, is that right? He plays
Yeah,
there, yeah.
yeah,
Um,
I didn't exactly know his name. I didn't want to screw it up, so.
um, what has this summer been like for you though, as you've balanced going through the recruiting process and I'm sure playing AAU ball kind of around different places? What's the summer been like for you as you've tried to balance those two things and navigate those two things and continue getting better while you're also trying to enjoy the process?
Yeah, I mean, the summer was a roller coaster. It went by super fast, and I'm happy and sad about that too. But yeah, I was on two AAU teams this year. I was on Sanford, and then along with my original team, Phenom. Both of them were great teams. I really couldn't choose between which one I was gonna play, but I love getting to meet the new Sanford girls. They were amazing. And then my original team, the Phenom, those girls were they were the ones who really got me out of my comfort zone and got me into playing AAU. I didn't know anyone on that team. So it was like, oh, here's a new chapter again for me, and that I'm gonna have to get comfortable with it too. But yeah, the summer with AAU it went by very fast. I all the games were incredible to play with my teams, and yeah, I yeah, summer was very, very interesting for me. There were many road trips where I had to drive to with my dad, so that was always fun, a few hours. But yeah, trapped in the car with your father sometimes is good, sometimes is bad, but
That's funny. I think we can all relate to that. So
yeah.
Southwest, they went 28-5 last year. Had a pretty good season. They won a couple of games in the Central region. So how much of their success in the past couple of years, as things have started to trend upwards, how much did that play into this decision?
Yeah, it actually had a big part of it. I looked at their records and their standings, and I was like, "Oh, it's a pretty good team from start to finish." They've been up in the standings for a while now, so that's kind of what pulled me towards it too, like having that progressive and program for the same for like producing a lot of independent and valuable players. It did pull me to Southwest, that's for sure, just because you see that school produced so many good players that went on to play either pro or out of the league. And yeah, I definitely think that's what pulled me towards Southwest too, because just like I said, that program and just producing the very skilled players they do.
Yeah. How much did you guys talk about your fit there and just kind of what how they see you fitting into their program? What was that conversation like?
Yeah, they said that I would be a very good, valuable player for them. They said they could see me as like a hybrid. It's like a 3-4 hybrid, sometimes around there. And yeah, that's what they said and they said they could progress me in a bunch of positions. And yeah,
Yeah. Well, real quick, let's talk about St. Mary's basketball. I obviously realize that we're a couple months out from the season, but how excited are you about the upcoming season? I know you lost a couple of familiar faces off that team, but you guys were a real threat to some teams last year and played some teams really tough that maybe people didn't expect going into the season. So what do you feel like
yeah.
is that next step for you guys as you head into your senior campaign?
Yeah, I think we have a very talented team coming up this year. I would say our next step would just be getting in the gym and really, really focusing this year. I know I'm gonna really put my heart and soul out on practice and out on the courts. And I would just say coming into the practice, being ready to work every single day, being ready to work through tiredness and soreness and all that hard uh, drills. And I would say our other main component for playing good basketball this year would be our communication. I think it has needed work throughout the years. And I definitely think that's something that we're going to pick up this year because all of our girls are very vocal once they got a little bit of experience underneath their legs. And yeah, I think we're gonna be a tough team this year, and so are so many other schools too. I know Century is gonna be giving us a run for their money, and Wilson is getting up there too with a bunch of their energetic girls.
Yeah, no kidding. WDA just continues to get tougher. Okay, well, we're going to get you out of here on this. A few rapid fire questions for you. Just first thing comes to mind, or what the quickest thing that you can think of. I've got 4 of them here. So what's your go-to pregame song?
Oh gosh. I would have to say Pandemonium by NF.
Okay, cool. What team are you looking forward to playing against the most in college?
In college, I think I'm looking forward to play. I would have to say U of Mary because they're the team that I know the most girls on, and I think it's just fun playing against the people that you know.
I was going to be disappointed if that wasn't the answer. What's your favorite kind of basketball shoes to wear?
Basketball shoes, I really I need to get new ones this year too. I really like the Sabrinas, and I've been wearing the GT cuts too.
Okay, tell Dad that's the payment for being stuck in the car with him for so long. A new pair of shoes, right? Last one. For sure. Who is the toughest player to guard in the WDA?
I would have to say, a player for me, I would say, they're very shifty, I think. I would have to say, gosh, I've never actually really thought of it. Sometimes I just go on the court and I'm like, who's ever on me, I'm just gonna guard them. Oh, I would have to say the upcoming freshman, in Century.
Okay.
I can't remember her name.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I mean, I've never guarded her before. But in AAU, my Phenom team played her, the Century team, and yeah, she was a handful. But
okay, cool. We'll look forward to that matchup this year. Yeah, we're excited to see what those two the 2 freshmen coming up for Century look like. But Mataya, thanks so much for jumping on here and joining us. We appreciate you giving us a few minutes of our time as you get ready for a senior season and then heading off to Southwest Minnesota. Thanks, I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Have a good one. All right, that's Mataya Messer, Southwest Minnesota State basketball commit for women's basketball. She is a senior at St. Mary's this season, so they're going to be a fun team to watch. Like we said, gave a lot of teams a lot of problems last year in some close games. So I'm interested to see how they step into year 3 under head coach Terry there. We're wrapping up here last minute or so. Another fun week ahead. We talked about some of the games to look forward to, and next week we're already working on the lineup for who we're going to have on for the 3rd episode of the Dakota Drive. So be sure to join us here next Monday from 2 to 3 p.m. We'll be in the same spot at the same time as we continue to keep things rolling here. We appreciate you guys giving us your time as we dive a little deeper and have some more conversations with people that we get to know a little bit better and hopefully get to have a little bit more fun with. Obviously, at the end, we do these rapid fire things just to get people to relax and hopefully give you guys a chance to enjoy getting to know them a little bit more. But we'll see you on Friday night for Under the Lights, our 2nd installment of that for football season, Friday night at 10 p.m. And then we'll see you right back here on Monday for the 3rd installment of the Dakota Drive. Take it easy. Have a great Labor Day and a great rest of your week. Thanks for tuning in.